Hello everyone and welcome back to the Stadthalle in Vienna in the press center. We are here with two of my guests for tonight to discuss the recent Eurovision developments. I'm here with Alistair Birch from SBS Radio and with Luke Fisher from Junior Eurovision. Luke, to start with you, you're working for Junior. What do you do here at the adult version?
Watch and learn in some respects as to how everything is hanging together on a much bigger event, because you never know, we could get there one day where we have to deal with a much larger scale event. And secondly, we have a press conference on Friday about Junior Eurovision. We have two representatives from BNT, Bulgaria, coming. So we'll be talking about the November event there. So we're kind of prepping for that as well.
That's on Friday. Yesterday we had the first semi-final of the Grand Eurovision. And let's take a look at what happened at that semi-final. Polina Gagarova from Russia, one of the qualifiers of last night, and this is Belgium. He came from the last envelope, had to wait a long time before he knew he would qualify for the final. After the show, the EBU spoke to all these artists and asked them how would they feel. Probably they felt really happy, just like Maria from Greece and Bogi from Hungary qualifying for the big final of the Eurovision Song Contest.
Have you noticed that the EBU always chooses a small country for the last envelope? It's typically Iceland or Belgium or someone like that.
It was Greece a couple of years ago, though, wasn't it? Which was too predictable.
True.
Yeah, we all know that was going to qualify. Big surprise, I remember, as being Dutch, when Anouk qualified as the last one after 8 years of not qualifying in Malmö.
Small countries.
And the last qualifier that we saw was Georgia. Alistair, were there any big surprises for you when you saw the results of last night's semi-final?
Big surprises, but I'm very bad at predicting. I was really disappointed about Finland. I would have liked to have seen them in front of the big grand final audience, because there are a lot of people who only watch the grand final and they're going to miss out what Finland was all about this year. I would have loved to have seen Denmark come through, because I think it was a great song. It was really well executed, it was well structured, it was well performed, but it just didn't get the votes, and it's a competition, so I'm a bit sad about that. But I'm happy about all the ones that did get through. So yes, it was all in all a good show.
You have the book with you, like always. You're always well prepared at the interviews and at the press conferences. Which were the countries that were most important for you right now to talk to this year?
Well, look, it's always about the personal connections you make at the song contest. For example, I know the press officer for Belarus very well, and because of that, she's an Australian. Because of that, I got to know the artists in Belarus better than any of the other countries. And I just felt with them, and I felt their sadness when they didn't qualify, and I know how much work they put in. Of course, all the artists have put in an enormous amount of work. However well or badly the song is received, the artists have really done their utmost. And to actually put all that effort in, sometimes up to a year's worth of work, and to have it all come crashing down in the semi-final, which is brutal, because 2/3 of the countries qualify. So if you don't qualify, basically the audience is telling you you're in the bottom third. It's not a nice thing, not a nice thing at all, but it's the nature of the competition.
You know Kath, the woman he's talking about as well.
Yeah.
You know her as well from, I guess, from Junior Eurovision, right? Because you worked there together with her. What did you make of the Belarusian entry? Did you see it yesterday?
I did. What I found strange with Belarus was that time is like thunder, and we saw no thunder in the entire 3 minutes. Not even a thunder strike or like a lightning, any kind of thing on the backing wall. So it was peculiar. They were my borderline. So it was one of the ones that I wasn't entirely surprised to see not qualify. The one I was pleased about, and this is me, not me as Junior Eurovision, I was pleased that Denmark didn't qualify, because the song just grated on me. From the moment it was picked, every time I heard it was, I just hated it. I really didn't like it. And it didn't win its national final, let's be quite honest. It did not win its own public vote. And I think it's worth remembering that we also have Germany in there that didn't win its own public vote. And if you send a song to a competition that wasn't your own public's favourite, how do you expect everyone else to go for it? So Denmark, I was surprised they didn't qualify though. I thought, okay, I don't like it personally, but I think it will be strong enough to get through. I wasn't surprised about Macedonia, the FYR of. Apart from that, I thought it kind of went to form, actually. I think if you got less than 7 out of 10 qualifiers, you probably might want to consider why you still come.
Well, I must admit at that point, on the SBS table, we always have our prediction list and we give each other's points, and whoever gets the worst score has to buy the drinks afterwards. and I lost this year, and I got less than 7. But I was
But that's statistically worse than someone who's never heard the songs picking balls blindly out of a hat.
I was going more by my heart, and also I like buying rounds of drinks as well. So, no, my very first Eurovision, I'll never forget, my very first question, my very first press conference was to Mr. Lordi, and I asked him, Mr. Lordi, will you mind getting 0 points? And he was very nice about it. And of course, he won Eurovision, and he won his press conference. He was looking for me.
Did you like the show in general, like besides of the qualifiers and the results and stuff like that? Set's very good. The set is very good actually, and the viewing is actually decent in there because it's not a particularly big arena in terms of, like, let's say Dusseldorf and even Baku and Oslo that were very long and flat. So the sight lines are good. I thought it lacked a little bit of a buzz last night. If you compare it back, I think it's a cultural thing in the way that you make television in the German-speaking countries compared to the way you do it in Scandinavia, that it just was a little bit sterile. But aside from that, I thought it hung together very well. My only thing was we effectively had 4 presenters last night, which it was a bit strange to have the 3 and Conchita doing half the work. So it was fine. I mean, you know, it's never going to be perfect. That's why you keep doing it every year. But it was perfectly good TV.
I did find the 3 presenters confusing, and in Australia we showed commercials during the green room, so you hardly saw Conchita at all, which was a shame, you know, because she really is a star of the show. So the combination of you weren't quite sure which presenter was doing what. It was just a crowded scene of all these people in dresses, talking, and you weren't quite sure who was going to talk next. But look, it'll be better on semi-final 2, and they'll have it perfect by the grand final.
And also, I think it's worth saying, the audience gets more up to it as you go through. Like, we're seeing Sweden on Thursday, so the audience is automatically it's going to be more up for it. And by the time you get to the final, it's going to be much more of a buzz going around. Sweden's up on Thursday, Latvia's also up on Thursday, and we'll have a quick look at an interview that we had with Aminata before the contest.
Actually, it was my friends who told me that I should try, go, come on, try. And I was like, I didn't get the last year. I failed, and I thought that I'm not gonna make it this year. And I thought that I'm not ready. I don't know. The song is not format of Eurovision and something like this, and then.
Aminata from Latvia, one of the countries predicted to qualify on Thursday. What do you make of that second semi-final so far? I know you're maybe not the best predictor, but let's give us your insights.
I'd be perfectly honest, I haven't even finished writing my commentary notes. I haven't gone through all the songs in the second semi-final yet. Still a little while to go. The first run through is later on today, I think.
Yes, that's true.
So I really... there are some favourites I have in there. Latvia isn't one of them. I think Latvia is quite a bland song, but that's my personal preference. That's not a judge on how likely it is or not to qualify. They're quite different things. For example, the Finnish song we talked about earlier, I think it deserved to go through. For the quality of the music, probably not, but for who they are and how much what they've done to get there. The semi-final is going to be interesting. See who comes up against Australia in the grand final.
How about you? Again, speaking from your personal taste, which song do you like in the second semi?
Well, I've not actually seen any of the rehearsals because I only turned up on Monday. So the same as the first semi, when I see the jury final tonight, because I'm not going to watch the afternoon run through, I'm going into it completely blind. I've heard some of the songs and I've seen them since April, but that will be it. Obviously Sweden is a very strong one in there. I'm very intrigued to see Poland, because Poland is, for me, it's just one of the songs that whenever I listen to the studio version, it just hits me and I like it. And I know it's a very sort of middle of the road pop song, it doesn't do anything special, but I enjoy that one. There's also the Irish in there, who, again, before the contest, people were thinking they were on dodgy ground, but let's see how it's set up together. And for the junior interest, of course, we have San Marino, combined age of 33, which, I mean, is just ridiculous. To see how they do it, it's a big step up. Obviously, but Anita, having come from November straight to here, is the fastest anyone's ever done that transition. just to see how they do.
How is that for you to see them now here? Because you probably worked with them rather intensively than about half a year ago.
I mean, Michele, you knew he was going to go on to do this. You just knew he's got that quality about him. And he turned up at Junior in Malta in November as kind of like a support for the delegation. But he has that air of star quality about him that you just know, okay, this was me last year, but now I've moved on and I'm going to be something. For Anita, because it's so quick, you don't get that. There's a slight sort of maternal instinct that you think, well, I should be looking after these people, and it's not my event to do that anymore, and they're out with the adults in the competition, and it's a little bit terrifying for them because we don't have semis in Junior. We don't have that ruthless part where we're actually going to kick people out before we get to the real show. So we'll see what happens with them, but either way, the experience for them and what they can then show that Junior Eurovision leads on to, plus with the Tomašević sisters, and
is that part of the idea of Junior Eurovision, that it leads you on to, well, perhaps performing here?
The idea of Junior Eurovision is that you're promoting singing young talents, and whether or not that leads to a conveyor belt that goes into the song contest, the adult song contest, is kind of up for debate, because you shouldn't push people through to that. But what it does do is it gets a younger audience involved in the Eurovision brand at an earlier age, because you can see people that are your age when you're 11 doing that on stage, and that might then make you want to watch the bigger one.
All right, what do you think about the San Marino entry?
It's a competent song. It'll do adequately in the semi-final. Is it going to go through? Probably not. But it's perfectly okay. It could perhaps have done a bit more stagecraft. Just having the two of them on the stage is not really very good TV, but the song sounds okay.
What I was concerned about before when we knew they were going to do Eurovision and we hadn't had the song, was how believable they would be, because you can't have a 16 and 17 year old singing at each other about how they're madly in love with each other and how it's the worst thing in their life that they've split up. It's not believable. So really, with the song, this was one of the only routes they could go down to make you actually think, yes, okay, I believe that that's what you're saying. So I'll be interested to see what it's like.
But Azerbaijan had a British housewife and a guy from Baku singing together a love story, and they still won it. So it's achievable.
Yeah.
I'm just not convinced that San Marino pull it off at this time.
So speaking about the transition from junior to adult Eurovision, the next Junior Eurovision Song Contest, where your press conference will be about, it will be in Bulgaria. But Bulgaria is not here. Can you tell a little bit about that, how that happened?
Well, I mean, it's up to them as their choice as to what they want to take part in. There is a prestige that comes with hosting an event, that you can get extra money, that the government is backing them to do Junior Eurovision. The tourist board is very on board with them being in Junior Eurovision to promote Bulgaria. So there is that, and they have to decide where they spend their budget. I wouldn't really want to say. I would suggest you ask this to them on Friday, because the Director General of Bulgarian Television will be here, and at the end of the day it's her purse strings that they decide on. But I think it is easier to get a one-off budget to say, yes, we're going to host this and this is what it's going to bring to the country, than can we justify an expense every year for a show we might not even be in the final of. And that is a delicate balancing act in countries where public television, are on very tight budgets.
Bulgaria is not in this year's Eurovision. Australia is, and if it were up to them, if it were up to Paul Clark, then they would come back anytime they had the chance.
More than nearly anything else. Hopefully, if we don't spoil the party, we'll be asked back again. I know that we're wildcards, and you never know. I think we're very fortunate that we've been asked to perform. Maybe it's a once in 10 year thing. So for that reason, we'd love to win. We'd love to win, so that would keep us there for one more year.
Australia for the first time actually in Eurovision. Alistair, what does that mean for your country?
It's massive. It's massive. I would have never predicted this. I must admit, Paul and the head of SBS told me a year ago in Copenhagen that they were trying to get into the 60th. I poo-pooed the idea. I said the EBU will never run with it. They'll never accept it. You'll never get an Australian to sing at Eurovision. I've never been happier to have been completely wrong as I am in this case. But I think what Paul also said, that it's going to be, if it happens again, a 1 in 10 year thing, unless we win it, of course. We're only ever going to be a guest. We do take part in the Asia Pacific Song Festival, which next year is being hosted by Turkey. And I would hope that in the same way that the Eurovision has invited Australia, that in the future maybe the Asia Pacific Song Festival will invite a European country to come and sing. Maybe this year's winner, who knows? Obviously I can't speak for them, but it will be great to see this cross-cultural mix happening in a more global level.
Luke, Australia at Eurovision, good idea, bad idea?
Adventurous idea, because it could go one of two ways. You know, they could if Australia has won, they could wake up on Sunday morning and all the European newspapers go, what on earth is this? It's a big risk, but I think it's, you know, this is television, and television is all about having moments like this. You know, everyone wants to see an underdog, or you see something strange happen. It's like the World Cup. You want to see New Zealand get to the quarterfinals just because. So I think there will be an excitement around Australia. I think they've come with actually a very good song. Let's be pretty fair to them. They've come with something that's very contemporary. And culturally, as much as Australia geographically is not in Europe, culturally it is, I would say. As a European, you know, they've got so many nationalities of Europe are represented in Australia that actually, as a sort of a West European society and its values of democracy and stuff, it's a very culturally European country. So it's not a difficult fit to bring Australia into a competition like this, especially when they've been showing it on TV for 30 years.
Could they be in Junior Eurovision?
We would have to go through the same process that the Adult Song Contest went with, that the reference group or our steering group would have to approve it. It would have to be approved by the television committee. The thing we don't have to worry about is the what if they win and where do they host it, because we don't have that in Junior Eurovision. It's a bidding process. And Junior Eurovision rules actually allow deferred broadcasts, which we had with Slovenia this year. If you can't show it live, you are allowed to broadcast it on delay and just have a jury. Now, arguably, Junior would work better in Australia because it would come on at 8:30 in the morning, which is possibly when children are watching television, than an 8 o'clock TV show in the evening. But, I mean, who knows? People would have said never have them in the adult contests, but right now we've not discussed it.
Alistair, have you spoken to Guy about this week? Have you seen him? You followed him obviously throughout the process here. What do you make of his preparation for the grand final?
Well, you have to understand, because I'm SBS, I don't get any priority contact to the artist at all. He's here to promote his music to the Europeans, the potential voters.
Yes.
My audience can't vote for him, so I got to ask him my first question today at the press conference, and that was great. You know, he gave a really nice answer, telling us about his move to Australia when he was a kid. But I think he's been doing the right things. He's gone to the right events. He's gone to all the parties. He's gone, or as many as he could. He's been all over Europe doing a promo tour. He's been on every single TV station that would have him in the lead up to the competition. We've seen from the stage that they've invested a lot of money in gadgets, stuff on the stage, big street lights that actually look really impressive. And Australia really is quite clearly pulling out all the stops, because it's our one chance to win this. And having a great artist like a Guy in it, it's, you know, you never know, we might just pull it off.
I have to say, Sony Music Germany, or the German version of Sony Music that represented him, have played a blinder on his promotion, because they've had him and they came to the London party and they knew exactly what they were doing. It wasn't just I'll go to Amsterdam or London to go to the parties, it's we'll go there, we'll do this, but we'll also do the TV spots here and there. They've really nailed his promo in the build-up.
All right, so we'll just have a couple more days here to go, and then the contest is already coming to an end. You have obviously the press conference on Friday. What else will you be doing the rest of this week?
It's mainly it. I mean, we'll be obviously hanging out with the Bulgarians when they've turned up, and a certain Italian boy who will also be here. Just, you know, doing a bit of coverage around them. We'll do some coverage around San Marino, because for us it's important to keep the storytelling going. That, you know, these were from Junior Eurovision, they've gone here, what did it mean to them, what did they get from it, what would they say to other kids in the same thing, in the same situation, you know, is it a stepping stone? Obviously we hope they say yes, and it is something you want to do. So for us, the storytelling element of having artists here is the most important to focus on after the contest.
How does your week look like?
Well, my busy week was always the first week because that's when I have to interview all the artists in about 25 different languages, and they've all gone to air now, or they're going to air this week.
And now you relax.
Well, I do a lot of breakfast radio in Australia to promote the TV show. Unfortunately, breakfast radio in Australia is about 11 o'clock at night here. So if I get to go to the parties, then I can't drink anything, or I just don't go at all. And so, yes, I'm on kind of back-to-back breakfast. I don't even get to go to the semi-final shows because very often I'm on the radio. The one show where I actually get to relax is the grand final because I can't be on the radio at that time, and that's the one show I actually buy tickets for as well.
All right, so we're all looking forward to that grand final. First, there's the second semi-final, which will be on tomorrow. And in the meantime, ESC Daily will be covering all the recent Eurovision developments here in Vienna. Thanks for watching.